I just wanted to make this video very quickly to each and every one of you. Oh, I forgot to say hello to each and every one of you. Now, one's questioning the reason as to why I'm doing this. I do believe I've got a very good reason as to why this video is being made. I'm doing this video to provide my utmost thanking gratitude for your kindly wishes from my birthday, from the 22nd of June of 2025. I mean, it's been a while since I last did a video. Some of you may not have seen this video, but I did it this time 4 years ago, or nearly 4 years ago now, when I did this video and all that. And I want to thank you most sincerely from my heart. I want to say a very big thank you for your kindly birthday wishes towards me. A very big thank you, hand on heart, and out from the heart, in that regarded sense. You know, I'm one short year away from hitting my middle 20s, you know, and so this is my last year of me being in my early 20s now, I'm afraid. Sad as it is, but we can't get any younger, can we? All we ever do is just get older and older until our time is up. To philosophically share a truth in this. You know, but I'm not afraid in death now, because I'm only acutely aware that it's going to happen, inevitably, at a much later stage in one's life. You know. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to get into the morbid side of things, but there we are. So, I want to take the opportunity. I'm sorry I didn't do this soon enough, but I'm taking the opportunity now. This is probably going to get uploaded over 2 weeks after my 24th birthday. You know, it's 25 come 2026, you know. But really, truly and sincerely, always a big thanks to all of you. You know, I didn't think at 24 years of age I would have such a supportive following. My following from all of you, new and old, from newest supporters to long-time supporters from years ago. I can't thank you all enough for your support every year for my birthday, or those who have just supported or have just started supporting my birthday for this year, you know. Can't thank you all enough in every way. Yes, and it's the 25th that's going to be a special one. My 20th and my 18th and 21st was special. And my 22nd, it wasn't enormously special, but it was fairly special because my age was a number of the same number, 22. No, gosh, it doesn't seem that long since I was 22 now, because I'm 2 years over that age now. No. Oh my word. How time flies and all that. But unlike a lot of 24-year-olds, I suppose I'm not quite your average 24-year-old, am I? Yeah, probably because of the interests I've got, and don't know what it could be and otherwise. Probably because I've got a propensity to weight gain. I don't know. But it's not funny, because some people do struggle with weight gain propensities, and so it's not a laughing matter. But I've never struggled with weight, no. But I just became more susceptible to weight gain post 20th birthday, and it's remained this way largely ever since. You know, because I rarely lose weight so easily now. And I think I'm having adopted a diet, not a serious diet, but a reasonable diet. I think that's so far kept the weight in check, but I will have to see when it's no longer going to work. You know, but it runs in my family, you see, weight gain. After a certain age, we start to fill out in my family. Some people don't fill out all their adult lives, or some don't fill out till their 40s, 50s, 60s, but it was, in my family, most of us after our 20th or so, or slightly after, or potentially earlier, we started to fill out. Size-wise, we're all different, and that's one way to explain it. I think the most interesting thing about, despite being a 24-year-old, my interest in organs and steam vehiculars, steam rallies, and classic cars and historic commercial vehicles, and steam engines, and not trains of vintage and other trains, but mostly older trains. Some newer ones I don't enormously care for, but I preferably like the older trains. But obviously I do see newer ones at times, and buses, preferably older ones. I don't know a lot of 24-year-olds who, there are plenty of 24-year-olds who have an interest in public transportation, but I've seldom seen any 24-year-olds take an interest in historic commercial vehicles, steam traction engine steamrollers or steam cars, steam lorries, and those kinds of things, or especially classic cars or fairground organs. Although I do know one person, 5 years younger than I, who loves fairground organs, Tommy Gardner. So I suppose I'm not your average 24-year-old in one way or another. And it's not every day one's going to have a 24-year-old friend, or one's going to have a 24-year-old son. But I do sometimes ask myself, what should 24 years old look like? Because I don't feel as young as a 24-year-old. Oh my word. How to put this? Oh, let's sit up. So, for a 24-year-old, physically and mentally, I feel like someone maybe 40, 50 years older. I don't know if it's something to do with the health or anything. The health's all right, but I'm prone to feeling the cold more, unfortunately. And that's an unfortunate price to pay for some of us as we get older in age, isn't it? I can't run so far anymore. I can run, but I can't do it for so long now. No, because of the effect it now has on me. I can bicycle ride still. I can bicycle ride. Hopefully that will last with me for another 20, 30 years longer, or hopefully even 40 years longer. And so, and all that. Yes, but I think my overall interest that I take, despite being born shortly after the dawn of the 21st century, I'm really not quite like one's typical 24-year-old. And I think it may or may not surprise many of you if I'm to share this reveal now, but every time somebody asks how old I am, a random person in the streets or on a train or when I'm event attending, what have you, they ask, I get conversant, or if someone gets conversant with me, or if I get conversant with someone, somebody asks me, how old are you? When they ask me. And I tell them how old I am. And some people, it just widens and opens their eyes, and they're like, really? And they don't believe my age. One surprising noting. And I was like, oh yes, I am that age. And they're like, you're going back now to February of 2025, 5 months ago, the beginning of February of this year. I encountered who was then an 83-year-old man, looking only about 73. He could have passed for being maybe about 75, 76, as opposed to 83. He was pretty good and pretty healthy for it, I must admit. Certainly you never would have known he was in his 80s if you'd seen him. And he was certainly not frail either. He was pretty robust, a big robust guy to share, but that's another story. He thought I was in my 40s when I told him how old I was. He said, it's the way you come across. No, he's really thought I was in my 40s. But we had a very nice conversant chat together, the elderly man and I. We chatted for about 10-15 minutes, but then but then his bus arrived, and when we said goodbye, we shook hands. Gave him a wave goodbye, and he gave me a wave goodbye. And that was the last we saw of each other. No, but he was a nice man, friendly man, I must admit. Hope to run into him again one day. But some of my most valuable memories so far, especially within some years after turning 20, you're going to London to Brighton Veteran Car Run 2023. I was sat down and I'd just eaten my lunch. And then as I was sitting down to let my lunch digest and watching the Veteran Car Run as it was going on, a nice girl sat next to me. A nice girl, quite attractive and rather pretty, a young girl. I don't think she could have been my age. I think she had to have been about a couple of years younger than I, something like that. I mean, she could have been my age or over, I don't know. She looked about 20. Or she could have been maybe in her middle 20s, and I wouldn't have known. A nice girl. She very attractive, blonde. She was blonde. And very nice glasses, roughly shoulder length blonde hair. It wasn't overly long. You know, with a very nice style, a nice woolen coat, a nice, I think it was either white or a pink woolen coat, pair of jeans, and nice black boots, what she had on. And we just chatted together. We had a nice chat, and we even had a nice giggle when I was talking to her. No, not nice girl. She was a nice girl. And she was quite enthusiastically outgoing as well, and would talk rather enthusiastically as well. You know, she was good to converse with. We conversed for about 15 minutes, something like that, and then I had to get up and see. And then I had to get up and carried on with the show once my lunch meal had digested and what have you. So that was a nice experience, and quite a memorable experience since turning 20 and all the rest of it. And but another particularly memorable moment has to have been March 2024 at Lewes railway station. Well, a very nice young girl, and that was one thing that particularly stands out to me. That relatably innocent personality, a sweet personality, a rather shy, but such a shy personality that was sweet and innocent to the point where it was just deeply relatable. You know, very nice. It was the petite little blonde. I mean, she wasn't short for height, but she was petite in size. You know, it's very nice girl. Can't remember if whether the girl at the Veteran Car Run or the girl at Lewes Station had blue eyes or green eyes. I can't remember, but I don't think they had brown eyes. I don't think so. And actually, to tell you something, not that long ago, shortly after my birthday, I ran into a nice young girl on the train, on a jam-packed train, whilst I was on my way to the Amberley Museum American Classic Car Show event. Train was so packed I couldn't find a seat. But when there was the girl sitting on the seat, I was able to. There was a spare seat next to her, but before I sat down, I asked permission if I could sit on the seat next to her, because of how packed the train was. So I sat on the seat, and I said, "It's a packed train, isn't it?" And she said, "Oh yes." And it was some time later I said, "Did you know there's a classic car event going on?" Well, I asked her if she knew it. She's like, she didn't. I mean, I wouldn't have expected her to know. But then she opened up to me that she had a history, and then I opened up a little to her about certain things, and then she opened up to something to me that was very interesting. The most interesting thing that she opened up to me about was the fact that she had just undertaken a history degree. Well, she'd just graduated after undertaking a history degree. So we had something in common, this girl and I. Both of us like history. And that was very nice in itself. And she said something that I completely agreed with wholeheartedly. That we must always remember and never forget certain historical things that have happened in the past. And I couldn't have agreed with this girl more on her sentimental points there. I sincerely couldn't have agreed with her more. I mean, really, couldn't have agreed with her more in every way. Such a lovely girl. I mean, lovely girl. No, very, and friendly too. And she was pretty as well. And she was blonde, consequently, as well. It was another blonde. A blonde, and a fairly petite blonde. I mean, she wasn't as petite as the girl at Lewis Station, and she wasn't the size of the girl at the Veteran Car Run, who wasn't petite, skinny, no. But she was a slim but fairly filled out and full-figured slim. That's how you describe. I think the girl at the Veteran Car Run couldn't have been any lighter than 11.5 stone, or maybe even 12, no lighter than 12 stone. She wasn't tiny, but she wasn't fat, but she was just fairly filled out. But the girl at Lewis Station, I don't think she could have even been anything more than 8 stone, I don't think. I don't know. And yet she couldn't have been any shorter than my height. I thought she'd be shorter, but when we were stood up, she couldn't have been any shorter than my height or any taller than 5'8.5". I don't know how tall the other girl was, because we were sat down, so I wouldn't have had any idea. But I don't think she could have been my height. But was fairly petite, also. But the one at the Lewis Station, petite as she was and tiny as her frame was, it was a figure you could die for or go for. It was one real figure to absolutely go for. It was sort of like that Callista Flockhart sort of figure which she had, or merely resembling it. You know, not the one at the Veteran Car Run, and not the one when I was on the train on the way to Ford, which I had to change trains at in order to get to Amberley. But my, they were just those are wonderful memories I've got of the girls, the 3 girls. But, I mean, sorry to tell all of you who'll be wanting to know, did I give the girl my phone number, the one on the train on the way to Ford? No, I didn't. But I thought she was pretty, but I think if we'd clicked far enough, I think I probably would have asked her out for a date. And we could have talked all things history, and I think we would have definitely had a nice conversation, talking about all things history, if we'd met. Because I'm very into history, as a lot of you know, or most of you may know, and she had undertaken a history degree because history was her interest. So if we dated, oh, we'd probably, oh my, it'd be one brilliant date, I must admit. And also her father, she told me this when I opened up to her about the Classic Car event, the one in Amberley just gone. She told me that her father was very keen on classic cars. And I was like, really? I was like, oh, how nice. And I never could have known that. So I think if I'd met, say, her parents, her father particularly, I think I would have definitely gotten on well with him, since we both shared an interest, along with David Scott. I did mention David to her, and I even mentioned it was thanks to Jonathan that got me into going to Amberley Museum. Jonathan Clements. And Dave Bryan, I mentioned Dave Bryan, and she was like, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember what she said about David, Jonathan and Dave, but I forgot to mention one event to her. I wish I'd mentioned it to her, but I didn't. Oh, never mind. You know, but I don't. No, but I never asked her number. No, never mind. I don't know how my friend's granddaughter's going to take to this. Oh, who actually, can I surprise one as it might? She considered me as very handsome and dashing, and said that if she could, I'm the sort of guy she could have dated it. Oh, that's something. Oh, and all that. You know, but actually, and also her grandmother considered me to be handsome as well, or sometimes still does. You know, lovely lady and a very nice girl. Her granddaughter is a very, very nice girl. And I have in the past had many people consider me to be handsome. I mean, when I was thinner and lighter for weight, because when I was 18 years of age, I weighed 130 pounds, which in the British weight side is 9 stone and 4 pounds. And then I had the COVID illness in January of 2020, which then my weight dropped to 118 pounds, or 8 stone 6. So when I was considered handsome when I most got it, it was when I was thinner in weight. But when I got to about 20, I did put on weight, and I became more susceptible to it, I'm prone to it at this point. And I did start to fill out after turning 20, and it was sometime after my 20th, I remember weighing myself, and when I weighed myself, my weight came, on the scales, it was 70 kilos, which is 11 stone, or 154 pounds in the American neck of the woods. So after my weight loss, which would have been, 17 months before my 20th birthday, and 5 months before my 19th, I had gained, 36 pounds. You know, but to be honest with you, I needed to gain the weight, you know. I mean, if you'd seen me, especially at the time of my late grandfather's funeral, shortly after he died, my body just looked nothing but emaciated after my weight loss. You know, my body was emaciated, just looked bloody skeletal and almost merely emaciated, like there was almost nothing of it left, you know. Which, picture 118 pounds on a 5'8" man, and as one could imagine, not only did I look very petite and extremely skinny, but I actually felt a little bit fragile being that weight, you know, very, very tiny. Even though the previous weight of 130 pounds or 9 stone 4 was namely through metabolism, because I could eat a lot. I could eat a lot and seldom gain weight, or at least only gain weight on a very, very gradual circumstances. Or some people remain the same weight as they were since they were teenagers. And I know one person who was the same weight from when she was about, I think, 14, 15, until she was about either 61, 62. I mean, she gained weight about a year or so later than I became prone to weight gain, but, or when the metabolism naturally slowed down, but there we are. There we are. You know. No, but you know, looks are not everything. But one thing I will say, those of you who do say I look handsome, or say I am handsome, even as of now, and certainly in the past, I take the compliments well, and thank you for it. I always take the handsome compliments well. Even though I may not get considered it as much as I used to, I would get considered handsome almost everywhere. Before my 20th, almost everywhere I got it, unexpectedly. And that's when I say, whenever I describe what I look like to people who have not seen what I look like, if I'm on a live stream chat, on a YouTube live, what have you, I always say what I look like, and I say what I look like is I have a full head of dark hair, have a roundish face, fair skin, and dark brown eyes. And people have considered me to be handsome. That's what I always say. And then then those who have seen what I look like, and they sometimes end up saying, "What a handsome picture," or "You look very handsome," or "Liking that." Takes me by surprise. So those are some of the interesting things since turning 20, or what I've experienced in my life. What people have said to me, what they've considered. I mean, normally I'm never too bothered about how one considers me, but I wouldn't want to be considered as having a poor reputation, but obviously that's another story if, when obviously those kind of times happen, but another story. Or anyway, as one might so say. But I'm sure one's noticed as you get older, you experience many interesting things as life goes on, naturally progresses as a whole. It's always interesting in a sense, isn't it? I mean, I must admit, So, but being 24 years of age, has been an interesting experience. Or being in my 20s, the 4 years since turning 20 have been, I think they're probably, at the moment, I mean, my 20th birthday, I was going through a critically low point in my life. I had good days, but I had very few good days and more bad days. But it was nearly 5 weeks after my 20th birthday. I mean, just right at the end of COVID lockdown, that was at the time. It was right out of COVID lockdown. And I met my best friend, who was soon to be my future best friend, David Scott. And since meeting David Scott, when I'm just turning 20 at this point, my 20s, being in my 20s, I think they've been the best or the greatest of experiences, namely because of what David got me into doing. And I wouldn't change this for the world. I certainly, in any way or any shape or form, could never could I change it for the world. Really, I couldn't. And I couldn't have asked for a better best friend. And then 2 years followed was Dave Bryan, Jonathan Clements. Couldn't ask for any better best friends. And then other wonderful things came about in my 20s, and other newfound friends who I'm yet to meet in person, but when we do meet, the moments will be valuable. Well and truly valuable in every way for those who I can run into in the future years to come, if our health allows, that is. No, I wouldn't change being in my 20s. I wouldn't change it. I'm at a point now where, I'm only acutely aware now. I've got to the stage or the point in my life where either your life starts or you're just getting started out in life when you're my age or younger or so. And also you get to a stage in your life, certainly if you're my age, where you become ready to find your first date. I mean, having never dated before, never gone on a date, I'm ready for it, and I'm ready, anytime it happens, I'm ready for it. Certainly am I ready for it, whoever the girl might be. So yes, I thought I'd share that about being in my 20s. I know that was quite a long story, but once again, I really want to thank you all for your kindly birthday wishes for my 24th birthday, and why I'm so thankful. Because next year I'm not going to be in my early 20s anymore. I'm going to be in my middle 20s next year. And if only one could live just happily ever after, or I, since reaching my 20s, could just live happily ever after. No, but I can't do that, But certainly can I say it. But once again, very big thank you for your birthday wishes towards me for my 24th birthday. And here's to my 25th for this time next year.